exclusive ownership of the means of production in our country that is holding this economy from growing. So when I came in, I saw the room going a bit dark. They darkened the room. And for a moment, I wondered, what is this? It's happening to me again.
South Africa,
Good morning, guys. Good morning. Once again, welcome to South Africa Lately, a channel that discusses South African trending news. We do, however, grab here and there from international news. When it is trending enough to be brought here, please do understand that I'm not a politician. I do not have deep knowledge in politics. However, I am a South African citizen and also a voter, and I do believe that my views count when it comes to political affairs of our gorgeous country. Hey, you see, yesterday, President Cyril Ramaphosa shocked me, hey, and shocked many South Africans. I was like, hey, not so much of a cheese boy there, President. You know, he sounded revolutionary. He sounded like a man who was part of the struggle that gave us the freedom of speech, religion, education, and all the things that we enjoy today. And now we're looking for that economic freedom in our lifetime. So says the EFF. So what I'm saying is that got many people saying, I can't fault this. I'm talking about people that criticize him on a daily basis. They were like, no, now you are talking. Others were like, no, this man is always talk, no action. But we gotta admit that talk of yesterday was a different talk. So what do you think? What do you think of what he said yesterday when he was answering questions about the trip, the work visit to America? He also made jokes about the lights being dimmed there and reminded us of the time when load shedding happened when he was still talking. And also, he spoke about the reasons why they went there. So what do you think? What are your views? Do you think we are seeing now the president that we've been longing for? Are we hearing the president that we've been longing for as the people of color in South Africa? The president that is bold to stand in the midst of the people that are still holding most of the economy in South Africa and letting them know that, look, this is not, the problems are not from the BEE, but the few hands that are holding the economy. But yeah, let me not hold you any longer. I would like you to listen to what President said himself, and I'll be back right at the end with my closing commentary.
So when I came in, I saw the room going a bit dark. They darkened the room. And for a moment, I wondered, what is this? It's happening to me again. Because at that moment, we were seated very nicely, and I was beginning to get into a groove of, interacting with this man. And I suddenly hear him say, no, dim the lights. Dim. And I must say, a number of people have said, this was an ambush. This was an ambush. And I was bemused. I was saying, what's happening? Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker. I've now forgotten what the question was. But well, there was a question. I guess I need to respond to it. I think the honorable member's question was, what is it that we sought to achieve by going to the United States? And I think that does require an answer. We were very clear.
Order, honorable members, Honorable Mkaula. Honorable member, I'm not recognizing you now. Honorable President, please proceed.
Thank you. The issue of relations between South Africa and the United States was an issue that occupied many people's minds in our country, and many had raised concerns about the deteriorating relationship between our two countries, having recognized the important role that both our countries play in each other's economy, apart from the various political relations, diplomatic relations. And we realized that the impact on our country's economy would be adverse unless we were able to repair or reset the relationship between our two countries. And to this end, in a telephone conversation with President Trump, when we were discussing other global matters such as Russia and Ukraine, we agreed that we should meet. And it was to this end that we traveled to the United States with a delegation that all of you would have seen as it was broadly televised. We really had three objectives. The first was to reset the relationship between two trading partners, partners that have had dealings over many years and where we invest in each other's economies. The United States has some 601 companies that are invested in South Africa, and we similarly have a number of companies that have invested in the United States. A number of our jobs, some of the sectors that would be affected would be agriculture, the auto sector, and the steel and aluminum sector, and a number of other sectors that make machines, and the mining sector, where we sell critical minerals to the United States, would be adversely affected if the relations were not straightened out. So it was to this end that we were motivated to reset that relationship. The second objective was to set up a process of engagement between the United States and South Africa. There had hitherto been a process of disengaging, where we were no longer really engaging at a government level to deal with issues that governments normally deal with on an ongoing basis. And we wanted to engage on tariffs, on investments, and related matters. And the third objective was to discuss the G20 and to highlight the important role that a country like the United States, which is the largest economy in the world, plays in the activities of the G20, which we are so deeply immersed in and having the responsibility of leading, and that it's important for the United States to engage with the G20 process and ultimately to entice the leader of the United States to come to the Leader Summit at the end of the year. So broadly, those were our objectives. And there could be a fourth one, which would be just the promotion of investment by American companies and South African companies in each other's economies. So we do believe that we achieved those objectives. The engagement with the American government has started. Soon after we left Washington, the engagement has now commenced, and there are discussions that are happening in relation to tariffs, in relation to investments, and we believe that we have reset the relationship despite what we could have seen on television. We were able to have a much more meaningful discussion and meeting with President Trump and his representatives during the quiet room where we had lunch together and had meaningful exchanges on a number of issues. And we do believe that the engagement will continue through the G20 process. So that was the main objective of the visit, and we do believe that the United States continuing to play such a big role in the life of our economy, it was necessary and important for us to go and engage with them, because many of our people's jobs are dependent on our economic dealings with the United States. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. That one of the things that holds South Africa's economy back from growth is the level of concentration. Concentration because they said the ownership of the economy is in far too few hands. Ownership has not spread. That is what the World Bank and IMF said. And that is precisely what happens in other countries. When you go to other countries, you'll find the citizens. I mean, in Africa, it will largely be black people. Wherever you go in the world, it will be the citizens. Now, in our country, it was just the few privileged, and may I continue to say white people, who continue to own the means of production, who continue to own the productive economy of our country. Now,
we took them to America.
Now, this I find very worrying. I find it very worrying that we continue to have this notion that BEE is the one that's holding our economy back. It is the partial and exclusive ownership of the means of production in our country that is holding this economy from growing. So, what we seek to do, as set out in the Equality Clause in our Constitution, to redress the imbalances of the past. If we accept that the ownership of our economy is imbalanced, the clause on equality in our Constitution seeks to undo that, to redress that. So therefore, ownership of our economy should be broadened. And I can tell you, Dr. Mulder, there's nothing that gives our people joy, particularly black people, as they go around and they find that this production facility is owned by a black person. It warms one's heart. It makes us feel so good because we've come from a horrible past when that was not allowed by law, where people were arrested. If you wanted to set up an economic facility in town, you were put to jail. But today, we are saying all that must be put behind us. We must allow more and more people to play an important role in the economy of our country. And this is what baffles me by those who are opposed to black economic empowerment. I say, what do you want to see happening? Do you want to see black people continuing to play the role of laborers, drawers of water, hewers of wood, and consumers only? Why can't black people be made to own productive aspects of our economy? Why can't they be rich as well? That is what needs to happen. Because it is when they get to that level. Dr. Mulder, you look at the Afrikaners, the history of your people. If you look at the history of your people, they were held back by the English. And with later days, they were enabled. They became more and more economically empowered. And they became economically empowered due to the policies of apartheid, the laws that were put in place, the sweet deals that they were given, and they started getting more and more into being serious economic players. Why can't the same be done for black people? Why? And this baffles me. Really, I don't understand it, because to me, that is the normal thing to do. You need, as a nation, to say, this group has been disempowered. It's been disempowered, we need to empower it. Like the approach we have now, the rural areas of our country have been disadvantaged, and we're seeking to direct more and more assistance and empowerment to the rural areas, so that the rural areas also come up. Now, anyone who will tell me that that is wrong, really, I think they must have their heads examined. because
Yeah, guys, if you watched up to here, thank you very much for staying up to this point, and kindly share your views in the comment section. I'm going to try by all possible means to respond to your comments if time allows me, but if not, I am going to try all by means possible to make sure I react to all the comments to show that I appreciate your participation in my channel. And do have yourself a lovely day. That was different, President. That was different. That was different. Thank you, guys.